Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week two. Welcome to our module two here in the music fundamentals class. What we'll be going over this week, I want to touch bases on a couple things. Number one, we talked about the treble clef, right? And we talked about uh, um, the lines and spaces of said clef. So they are, as you see here, every good boy does fine. Face in the space. Write it down. You can pause this video right now so you can write it down, commit it to memory, take a screenshot of it, whatever it is that you need to do. Bass clef. Good boys do fine always. Or if you want to change it up, good boys deserve fudge always. However you want to do it, it's up to you. All cows eat grass. These are the lines and spaces of these clefs. You have to commit them to memory. You need to be able to read the treble and the bass clef for my class. Okay? Go ahead, same thing with this. Screenshot it, write it, lock it down. And using this will even help you further understand some of the exercises and things that I gave to you to look at and do in module two. All right, now moving on. I'm going to go ahead and get into module two. So now we're dealing with note direction. Okay. You have several different notes. So let's make sure that you fully understand this. First note we're going to work on is the whole note. Whole note lasts for 4 whole beats. If I was to count it and clap each whole note, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a half note is called half note, so it's half of a whole note, so it lasts for 2 beats. I'm gonna count that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Quarter note. Well, before you move on to quarter note, half note is half of a whole note. So if you want to divide it and create like a little tree, this is how it would look. Quarter note quarter note lasts for 1 beat. A whole note lasts for 4. Half note lasts for 2. Quarter note lasts for 1 beat. What does that kind of put you in the mind of? A dollar is a whole note. Half note is a 50-cent piece. A quarter is 25 cents. This is how that tree would look. Okay. So I would count, let's say I count the tree going down from the whole note to the half note to the quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4 half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you would count it. So now let's look at the next thing. So sometimes you might have notes with these flags on the end. We call those notes eighth notes. An eighth note lasts for 1/2 of the beat. Again, an eighth note lasts for 1/2 of the beat. So the way it would look is like this. A quarter note is 1 beat. An eighth note is half of that. Okay. Now, 16th note has 2 flags. 16th note lasts for 1/4 of the beat. Now let's look at this. This is 4 beats. Cut that in half to 2. Cut 2 in half to 1. Cut 1 in half to a half. Cut a half in half. It becomes a fourth. So then when you put it all together into the tree, it looks like this. Now, I will show you this. Everybody has already received an email. In this email, you have this tree and you have this tree. This is the sample I'm giving you of how everything is counted. If you look, I got all the counts there. Whole note lasts for 4 beats. I wrote out 1, 2, 3, 4. Half note lasts for 2 beats. I got 1, 2 here for this one. I got 3, 4 there for this one. Oh, if you noticed, all of them add up to 4. Quarter note lasts for 1 beat. So I got a 1 here. Now we're moving on to 2. Got a 2 there. Now I'm moving on to beat 3. I got a 3 there. Now I'm moving on to beat 4. I got a 4 there. An eighth note lasts for half the beat. So here's 1. Half of that, then the second half of the beat we call and, but we notate it as a plus sign. So the way you would count it is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, the 16th notes, the way we count each fourth of the beat, the first note, no matter what beat we're on, is always going to be, excuse me, no matter what beat we're on, it's always going to be that number beat that we're on. So let's say, for example, we're here on the eighth notes. This is beat 1, so that's why that first one is 1. Or if here, this is beat 2, that's why this first one is 2. Same thing here, same thing here. So this is 1. The second fourth is called E. Except that this is an unbreakable rule. The first, the 16 note pattern is 1, E, and duh. Gotta accept that as it's gold, it's facts. Nothing will change. So when I move on to beat 2, it's gonna be 2 E and when I move on to beat 3, it's 3 E and when I move on to beat 4, it's 4 E and Now, what happens if I mix it up? Let's say I have an eighth note on beat 1 tied to 2 16ths. How would I count that? I would count that as 1 and Well, let's say it's reversed. Let's say I have 2 16th notes on beat 1 tied to 1 8th. So it would be 1 E and. How would that sound? 1 E and. 1 E and. How would the other one sound? 1 and 1 and Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beginnings of syncopation. Syncopation is that flavor that Black and Latino people put on rhythm. You have all received the email breaking that down. So now in this email, you got to take this one out, print it out, and label it yourself. Because this is the note tree, same as the one that I gave an example, but this is a rest tree. Well, what's the difference? There is no difference. The top tree is telling you how long to make a sound. The bottom tree is telling you how long to be quiet. So this whole note is telling you to make a sound for 4 beats. This whole rest is telling you to be quiet for 4 beats. This half note is telling you to make sound for 2 beats. This half rest is telling you to be quiet for 2 beats. Quarter note is telling you to make sound for 1 beat. The quarter rest is telling you to be quiet for 1. The eighth note is telling you to make sound for half of a beat. The eighth rest is telling you to be quiet for half a beat. The 16th note is telling you to make sound for 1/4 of the beat. The 16th rest is telling you to be quiet for 1/4 of the beat. So they are labeled exactly the same. So you go ahead and fill in both of these. All right. It's very important for you understanding how rhythm and note durations happen and are derived. Okay. Restoration, just like I said a second ago. Same exact thing. Whole rest, same as a whole note. Half rest, same duration as a half note. Quarter rest, same duration as a quarter note. Eighth rest, same duration as an eighth note. 16th rest, same duration as a 16th note. Okay? So, if I was to add a rest in here, right? Let's play it. Now these are telling me to make sounds for 1 beat 4 times. Now watch what happens if I replace that with a rest. Do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? It's just telling you to be quiet for whatever that duration is. It's no different. That's how the whole rest looks. You don't really see it because it's sitting on the actual line, but it looks like an upside down top hat, whereas the half rest looks like a top hat. Okay? Eighth rest, that's the flag for it. Okay? 16th rest, it's this flag for it. Now, if you notice earlier, you saw I came to a page where the flags kept multiplying themselves. Let me explain to you what that means. This is an eighth note. If I add 8 to that, now it's 16. If I go ahead and add 16 to that, we got 32. I add 32 to that, we got 64. That's what that means. This is your chart. Label it. Make it happen. ties. The dot is telling you to add 1/2 of the note's original value to itself, whereas a tie is telling you to continue playing this note. Okay? So 1/2, like I said, the dot is telling you to add 1/2 of the note's original value to itself. Half of a quarter note is what? It's an eighth note, which lasts for half of the beat. That's why this says 1 plus 1/2. Boom. It's the same thing. Okay? Now, you can also take this dotted quarter note and you can divide it into 3, because half of a quarter note is an eighth note, right? So that means it takes 2 eighth notes to make up 1/4. So that's this. Boom, boom. And then this dot is the third one. Very simple. A tie normally goes across ledger lines, because you would, if it wasn't a ledger line there, you would just write that as a half note, right? So this is how it sounds. Just extends the note. Now, if there was no ledger line there, I would write it as a half note, like I said earlier. Okay. Here's your chart so you can understand what these dotted notes mean and everything else. Now, major scale building. Remember we talked about steps before? This is when steps become very important. That is the formula for a major scale, period. Accept it, commit it to memory. This is your basic foundation for everything else that we're going to build upon. C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. A half step is from E to F. Another whole step is going to take us up to the G. The next whole step is the A. The next whole step is the B. And the last half step is the C. That is the formula for the major scale. It just so happens to be the C major scale. Lock that in your mind. Understand it. Formula. That's what it is. No matter what major scale it is, that's the formula of how you build it. Minor scale. It's a little bit different. If you notice, the formula is different here. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. What does that mean? A whole step up from A is B. Half step up from B is C. A whole step up from C is D. Then we got E is another whole step. A half step up to F. A whole step up to the G. And a whole step up to the A. This gives us the A natural minor scale. Very good. Now, we have a different type of scale that comes behind that. It's actually called the harmonic minor scale. Okay? Simply state, excuse me. You take the seventh and you raise it by a half step. Okay? So this is a natural minor scale for C. I'm gonna raise that seventh to a half step, and now it's B natural. Watch how it sounds. Give it kind of like Arabian Nights type feel, right? Now the melodic minor scale, you're gonna raise the sixth and the seventh a half step on the way up, and then on the way down, you're going to lower them. So watch how it works. There we go. Sorry. Here we go. That was ascending. Now watch descending. You see how it raised going up and then it lowered on the way down. That's melodic minor scale. So what you need to do in this exercise is practice building. Use your knowledge of the scales that I've given you thus far. So what's the using the whole and half steps? What is this? That's what you need to be figuring out for your homework. This is how you practice. All right. Now, you need to go ahead and go through the multimedia for this. Rhythm reading, very important. Okay. I gave you the basics. You need to take that and chop it up and go through the different exercises so that way you can understand it. Clapping rhythm. Clap through the rhythms that you see here. Practice it. So what I'm gonna do, whenever I see a note, I'm gonna clap it. Whenever I see a rest, I'm still counting it, but I'm gonna keep my hand in open position. So let's say I have 4 quarter notes. I'm gonna clap. I have 2 quarters followed by 2 quarter notes followed by 1 quarter rest, ended with a quarter note. This is how I'm gonna clap it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see how I didn't clap on beat 3 because that's where that rest was. Okay. This is how you practice. Okay. Then when you get to exercise 2, it's a little bit different because you have eighth notes in there. So it might be 1 and 2, 3, 4. So that was 2 eighth notes followed by 2 quarter notes, right? What if I have 2 eighth notes followed by a quarter rest followed by a quarter note? 1 and 2, 3, 4. Simple. Go through these exercises. Go ahead, answer the discussion question for module 2. Do your attendance for both week 3 and weeks 4. Pleasure teaching you this week. Be blessed, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.